The wolves are a savage group of individuals first encountered in season 5 of The Walking Dead. They appear on the surface to be nothing more than primal psychopaths who are intent on killing and taking whatever they want. But something that always grabbed my attention was in the episode JSS, we see some wolves leading away members of Alexandria, almost enslaving them, chaining them up and taking them. And of course Carol, using her disguise, pretends like she has captured Morgan, and some wolves say, great catch, Aphid, thinking that Carol is the member called Aphid. So what are their true motivations? Do they just want to kill people, or is there something greater than that? How does one become a wolf? If I am found in the middle of the wilderness by these people, are they going to let me join? What happens? How did this group form in the first place? Well, today we're going to answer all these questions, and you'll never guess what has given us a few answers. And of course, that is the RPG. But we'll get into that in a second, okay? Don't worry. Let's first talk about Owen, the leader of the wolves. So when Owen first meets Morgan, he tells him the following.
The first settlers here, they put bounties on wolves' heads. Didn't take them too long to kill them all. They're back now.
Then after threatening Morgan and telling him he's going to take all of his stuff and his life, he then adds this little gem.
Some of the tribes around here, they thought that the first people were wolves transformed into men.
So there is some level of delusion with this group. They seem to believe that humanity should just be animalistic, that this is what is the next step for them, that communities and things like that shouldn't exist. We get a glimpse of that with this particular wolf that Morgan ties up in JSS.
They're freeing you. They're trapped. You need to know, people don't belong here anymore.
So in a sense, the wolves are giving these groups that they're destroying a mercy. They believe that, there is no society, there is no community. It is just kill, kill, kill. We are animals. We are wolves. But then, what about the chained up Alexandrians? What was that about? Well, now let's turn to the RPG. Now, within the starter kit, you can get this thing called the Wolves' Den Survival Mode. Basically, a survival mode is a one-session campaign. It's designed to be played in one sitting. So the scenario behind this survival mode is 2 members of your group have suddenly left in the middle of the night, and you begin tracking them, and the session starts when you find their abandoned tent and the truck that they stole from your group. And you soon come to learn, if you follow the trail, that the wolves were the people responsible for kidnapping these 2 fleeing group members. The wolves are currently stationed in a place called Evergreen, and consider Evergreen like a smaller version of Alexandria. It's a small village sort of surrounded by the mountains that had about 40 people living in it and surviving until the wolves rocked up with a big truck, drove it through the gates, just like they do with Alexandria, and essentially killed most of the residents. However, they didn't kill all the residents. They actually allowed one of the residents to join the wolves, and the other residents that were kept alive were put in the barn, and they were forced to fight for the wolves' entertainment. And the 2 kidnapped group members from the player character's group are within this barn, and if the players take too long, eventually those 2 characters individually will be forced to fight walkers in a pit, again for the wolves' entertainment. So this explains why the wolves carry people in chains around Alexandria. That's what they've done. They are grabbing these people to essentially come, fight the dead in a pit for their entertainment. And when the wolves, of course, tell Carol, oh, great catch, it's because Morgan's, a pretty strong guy. That probably will be, a dude who's going to hold his weight against walkers. Now, they don't get weapons when they fight. They just have to fight with their bare hands. Now, there's a character called Rebecca. Rebecca is one of the group members who fled and gets kidnapped by the wolves. Now, if the players take too long, eventually the Game Master can implement the ending to the game. Basically here, Rebecca fights the dead, but she just kills them all. And the wolves are so impressed with her that they invite her to join their group. Now, that basically means we know how one joins the wolves. You have to fight the dead, and if you manage to survive and you impress them, you can join. There is also another character called Angela Garcia, and Angela basically, I don't know exactly how, but she begged and offered to join the wolves when they invaded Evergreen, and Owen or whoever accepted her, and she had the W carved in her head. So that's essentially what the wolves are like. That's how they recruit people, and that's how they destroy communities. They are intent on destroying anything that is civilized, because in their mind, civilization is wrong. If you want to join, that's cool. You have to get captured by them and not killed, and then thrown into a pit to fight walkers. And then you have to survive that, and then you can carve a W into your forehead, and you can join the wolves. It's that simple. So it's not all death with the wolves. There is a way to join them. There's something more I'd like to add though, a little bit of extra detail, something I noticed, and with the hindsight of the RPG, I think this is quite an interesting theory. So in JSS, Morgan says to Nick, the other wolf, the blonde wolf, if you keep choosing this life, you will die. And Nick responds like this.
We didn't choose.
Maybe this just means we didn't choose, as in, this is what we are. We are animals. We are animalistic. We didn't choose our nature. We are wolves. Or it could mean something a little deeper. And that is that maybe someone else started the wolves. It wasn't Owen. It wasn't Nick. It was someone else. And they did this to Owen and Nick over time. They forced them in the pit to fight the walkers, and eventually they joined. And then this original founder of the wolves died a death, an unexpected death, but they've just carried on the cult, you know? They've carried on the mentality. They didn't choose this life in a sense. They got forced into it, and now they're just repeating the same cycles because they're also deluded, and this is the life that was thrusted upon them. It's a little bit of a stretch, sure, but I think in a sense that adds a little bit more realism to the wolves, you know? If you're a part of a cult like that, and there is a cycle of violence, you get wrapped up in it. You can't just leave. You can't just change your life. That is your life now. And this is also how the wolves survive. They don't survive by farming. They survive by raiding other groups and stealing from them. They've tried to do this to Alexandria. They did it to Evergreen in the RPG. And they also did it to Noah's estate. They have no grasp on any other life. This is how they survive. To add to this, there's another character in the RPG, another member of the wolves, called Kwame. And Kwame has begun to doubt what the wolves are doing. And he's discontent with the group, and he now wants to leave. And he will actually assist the players if they trust him, that is. And he is meant to be trustworthy. He desperately wants to stop being a wolf. So this just proves that these people aren't that psychologically damaged. There are parts of them that can change. And of course we see this in Owen too, because Owen does begin to change near the end of his life. Not to say the wolves is a really well-ordered group though, it clearly isn't. It's random, right? Who gets to fight the walkers and join them is really just determined by who they capture. I mean, with the red poncho guy, for example, they just kill that dude. They don't bother letting him fight the walkers. So hopefully, I've been able to give a little bit more of a spotlight on the wolves and explain their motives a bit more. And now, I hope you have a better understanding of them. Great. Awesome. Also, Owen looks really different in the RPG. What the hell's up with that?